Okay, well, hello everyone at the SLIC Conference. My name's Alex Gilmore. I'm an associate professor at the University of Tokyo in Japan. Sherry and Linda very kindly asked me to give you a few thoughts on authenticity in the classroom, so I'm happy to do that. So my first point would be to caution you over using the word authentic. What do you really mean by the word authentic? Of course, no teacher in the classroom will want to be considered inauthentic or fake, so it's quite a loaded term, and often it's quite used loosely in the literature. So in terms of what we mean by authenticity, if you look in the literature connected with this, you can see at least 8 different meanings there. I'd just like to talk about a couple of them in the implications for teaching. So one of the first meanings of authentic is related to native speaker language. But we have to ask ourselves, how important is it for students to be exposed to native speaker language? Often in their lives, the majority of communication in English might be with other non-native speakers. And of course, native speaker language tends to be very culturally bound, and often authentic conversation between native speakers has got little interest or relevance to our learners. A second definition of authenticity is a real speaker addressing a real audience. And here it doesn't really matter whether it's a non-native speaker or a native speaker that's communicating, as long as the communication is for a real purpose to transmit meaning. A third definition is from Henry Widdowson, and he believes that authenticity is something that's imparted on a text by a reader or a listener. So in this context, something that's been contrived can become authentic if the learners believe it's authentic or authenticate it themselves. So for Widdowson, the idea of authenticity is kind of an irrelevance. Another definition is from Van Leer, and he sees authenticity as a process of interaction between students and teachers in the classroom. So if the interaction results in learning, then it can be considered authentic. And this kind of view of authenticity seems close to sociocultural theory and Vygotsky's idea of a zone of proximal development. We don't have time to go into here, but it's something to think about. Another definition of authenticity is about the kinds of tasks that are chosen. So here, an authentic task would be a task that students might well have to carry out in the real world. But of course, tasks which have a pedagogic rationale are equally valid in the classroom, and quite often we use a series of pedagogic tasks to lead up to a real world kind of goal. The last definition of authenticity I want to mention is from Claire Cramch, and she sees authenticity as the ability to behave or think like a target language group and to be validated by them. So in this kind of definition of authenticity, it relates to the idea of intercultural communicative competence, and this model is an extension of the communicative competence model, in that it says that a native speaker might be communicatively competent, but if they've had no experience in dealing with other cultures, they might lack this ability to mediate between their own culture and another. So with the idea of intercultural communicative competence, we're looking at trying to train learners to be sensitive to other cultures and to be able to adapt their behaviour to fit in with a target culture. Okay, so all in all, lots of different definitions of authenticity, and I think it's a good idea to try to clarify in your own minds what you mean by authentic and why or why not it's justified to use authentic materials in the classroom. For me personally, when thinking about what I want from my materials, of course I'm looking for input which is motivating and which the students will engage with, because if I'm not engaging the students, then I think very little is possible in the classroom. So quite often authentic material as something that was created for real communication will often be more motivating than something that's contrived in a language textbook. The second thing that I'm really looking for from my language input for the classroom is something that's very rich in features that I can focus on in the classroom, and that could be grammatical features, but it could be lexical features, it could also be non-verbal features. So I tend to use a lot of video sections, video scenes in the classroom, and we focus on the meaning of those scenes first, and then later, once they understand the meaning and the context, we look back at it and analyse features that are raised by it, which are useful. Discourse features, for example, could be discourse markers or hesitation devices, things like that. So I find audio-visual material really useful because it's rich and there's lots of different features that I can focus on in the classroom. Yeah, okay. So I think that's about all I've got time for today. So good luck with the conference, and I wish I could be in Canmore with all of you. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.